according to the computer.
All right.
Hey, I don't know when you all are going to see this, but we're going to have a great conversation tonight, starting with the First Lady Erica and
Stephanie, Marvel Bliss.
Yeah, Brad.
our guest Terri.
I'm Terri. I think you can see me. It's Terri528, or you might just see me as Terri Smith.
And Reverend Rising over in the corner. Okay, and we're going to talk about the Big O. Well, we're going to start with looking at the Big O, or the missing piece meets the Big O. See, I didn't want to ruin it for y'all and tell you what we're going to watch. We're going to watch that first. And then we're going to talk about that. And then we're going to talk about the real Big O. Why are people having these orgasms? Or why are people requiring so much porn to have an orgasm? Why people can't, positive masturbation and things like that. So this is about to be fun. But we're
so it was.
The evidence goes way back on him, huh? Evidence goes way back.
Yeah.
Me and Woody Allen got the same birthday.
Really? Oh,
I suggest you rebuke him.
There was one that was sort of like little visionettes, but there was one that was Woody Allen sort of went to the future, and I think he had a yellow Volkswagen Beetle. I don't know why I remember that.
He had the machine.
Yeah, and he went into the machine, and he
had
this orgasm in this machine, and it's just like, but it's funny because now I wonder, is that what it's like up on the space stations?
That's why we're having these talks right now, because we're going to be talking about galactic sex soon.
Yeah.
Or
maybe that was foresight. I don't know.
Going where no man has gone before that we know of. Anyways, we're going to talk about it.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh, but you know what? I did have to say this because you're in your certain age. I had a roommate. She was already like 72, this lady. And she was telling me about when she got married. And I believe she was a virgin when she got married. But the thing about it was her husband had a best friend. And when they got married and came back from their honeymoon, the best friend came to stay for 6 months.
Oh.
And I was like thinking, and she talked about because he was abusive to her. So I'm like, wow, maybe he didn't want to really be married. But it just, I said, best friend. I don't really know too many men who, when they get their brand new wife, wants a man on their couch for 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
And they used to take special trips once a year. And I started to wonder, is that what Brokeback Mountain was about? Like, is that, No, I started to wonder, was that your husband taking them trips, because that's what that sounded like to me. So meanwhile, back then, the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, certain girls worked in the workplace. There was a lot of pressure to have sex in the workplace. But then, there's the guys that do other stuff. They're not just going to see stag films. They're going to hang out with Jim. They say they're going to hang out with Jim at the bar, but that's not really what that's about. They just, it's just women had to be in the house, so they didn't get to see that part.
Yeah.
Where you're the beard and your husband really is with Jim, and you get to be home with these kids. They want to make sure they have at least one or two, and you're at home minding the baby and keeping you busy. So another aspect of the movie, Stephanie, we even talked about missing the orgasms, but
yeah, what was it? For women, you said it was something. It's not pre-ejaculation like for men. It was something for women, right? You called it something. Like a misfire. That's what it was.
Yeah, I called it a misfire, where you kind of have the things going on and the body gives all the physical signs, but you didn't really have, you physically had an orgasm, but you didn't feel it. You just mechanically had the orgasm. So evidently, I did not know guys had that, because you over here thinking that don't happen to her, and I'm over here thinking that don't happen to you.
Right.
And we don't talk about
while
it.
you're understanding each other.
Yeah. I like talking about stuff because I always wanted to know, like, well, what's so good? Because guys be like, ooh, 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 it's so good. You want to know, well, what is it like for you? Can you describe it?
You really try to get taboo, huh?
Because really, I'm trying to understand how women have more nerves in their vagina, but they're missing most of their orgasms. But men is like, y'all like at 90% probably, right?
Well, is the circumcised men or not, because they missing nerves from being circumcised, because you actually got more nerves when you're not circumcised. You know,
no, they got more nerves because they're not circumcised, aren't they?
Yeah,
it's more sensitive. I think it's more sensitive too.
You're more sensitive, but now I don't know this by heart, but I read this up where they was talking about the what is the difference between the guys that are circumcised and not, and they said well, I ain't prepared for this, so I don't know, but it's something you could read up of. But it talked about you missing more nerves when you're circumcised.
Well, we'll be talking about it again real soon. You get your facts together, brother. I
mean, it's also about just how keeping yourself. What level does it take for yourself to complete that orgasm for a guy? And sometimes, for some guys, talking to themselves, putting themselves in this egotistical role, makes them more. I guess. Fantasy. Yeah, it completes their fantasy for them.
I thought you were supposed to talk about baseball, so you can make it last longer.
Last night we were talking about, is an orgasm more mental or is it more body, or is it?
It's both. It's a mixture of both. It's the balance.
Because I've known people who can have an orgasm without touching themselves.
Yes. Well, they gotta have a powers to do that. That's psychic masturbation.
Water for this one.
And then you also have.
But I haven't for a while, but I have had an orgasm without touching anything, and it's actually just moving the energy, being aware of
psychic powers.
The energy move through you, right?
That's psychic powers. That's psychic masturbation. That's what you called it.
Yeah.
Because
is that what wet dreams are? Is that like
that would kind of be like
dreaming,
that,
even
you go into another density.
They'll have orgasms in a sleeping state.
You said that
and then you gotta clean. Being a guy, you gotta clean up after. You gotta clean up after.
Yeah, it's messy. It's messy as a guy. It's very messy.
So, it can get messy for girls too.
Gotta change drawers.
You gotta change. It's messy enough where you gotta take a shower, to change your drawers. And if it happens to an adult, because it happens to a lot of teenagers.
The dog come and get the cat came and got you.
Yeah, if it happens to a teenager, it's different. But as an adult, if it happens to you, you're like, whoa, you know what I mean? What is this? What is this?
What? You should. If that's happening to you as an adult, that means you need to be getting some ass. Because
that too.
Because you ain't got no self-control.
You gotta put a cap on it.
Bro.
You gotta cap it.
So Terri, is that the same as the astral? What is astral sex versus dream state versus what do you guys call it? Wet dreams?
Wet dreams?
I don't know it's a female's.
What they call it? Night what do you call
night
it?
Ejaculation.
Night emission or something.
I call it changing the oil at nighttime. Just change
the oil. I hope it don't look like oil, baby.
I hated that shit because you had to clean. Oh my goodness, waking up out my sleep and I got to clean it.
What? And I don't know what that really means. I mean, because if you're having those, does that mean you're in you were in another dimension and you're having what is it?
Is it?
Yeah, what's going on there? Is
it real?
You, Terri?
I don't know.
Is this a body thing?
I honestly don't know.
Okay.
Well, I don't know. Maybe I'll get an answer, but I'm not sure.
Thing for when that wet dream happened, for a man, he not hard, because I know,
yeah. For real?
Yeah,
true. It's usually
Okay.
I
so
did.
Is it a body thing? Is
I don't
it
even know how
like
the hell
your
that shit
body
work.
just needs to
I don't even know how
release?
it work. If you're not hard, I don't know how to fucking work. So
because
it's like,
it's the motion too. Like you're dreaming that you're having sex.
yeah,
So you
but
feel
not hard.
it's like you feel it, right?
Yeah.
You still feel like you're having sex though.
Yeah.
So it's you don't have to necessarily have blood down
See,
there
I'm
for
saying
it
you
to work.
must be having a lot of fun. Y'all having sex without having sex. Then you having sex. You're getting 90% mark on your orgasm. Y'all's having a lot of fun. And from what it sounds like, it feel real good inside of there. So that's a lot of excitement, y'all, on y'all part.
But look, like y'all were talking about, is it mental? No, yeah, it's definitely both because I've been in some lukewarm.
I want to know about this.
It wasn't
Jermaine tells a story where he had a contact with a person and it was not hot inside. It was a little bit chilly.
I had sex with her 5 times.
You need to get warmer with that.
And it was like, what in the fuck? So it's like, okay, because I'm like, this don't happen to me, and so I'm like, I'm a fucking pioneer. This I just picked random by the gods to be fucking fucked with like this. I'm thinking I'm
was a lizard woman or something, like some type of hybrid.
Was it cold blooded? Was I messing with a fucking reptile hybrid or something? I mean, this is the weirdest shit I've had. I was like,
I'm done.
And look,
have you heard of that at all?
Cold blooded.
We gonna use you as a guy because you've been here longer than us, so we need you to tell us some answers.
Yeah, like
she wanted your DNA, Jermaine.
So weird. No,
she got a sample.
And I'm gonna tell you, for being a man, like you say, well, it feel like it's heat. You feel heat. And I read it up scientific. It says that I think they say the surface of the penis is like colder than the vagina, so that's why I feel hot in comparison.
Oh.
So I ain't feel that. I felt fucking lukewarm. I might well have been jacking off or something. I mean, this is
uncircumcised men have pretty warm.
You almost got frostbite.
Jermaine, I mean, uncircumcised guys have really warm penises. It feel real warm to the tip.
I didn't feel nothing. What the fuck you talking? No,
I'm just trying to tell you. You said you were talking about circumcised versus uncircumcised before, so I was just trying to my field experience, my field studies that I've done. I was like, it was very warm. It was very warm. Like,
yeah,
I actually wanted to take
twice. That would be twice actually. So it's something going on out there. Maybe it is cold-blooded or some shit.
Yeah, we're gonna have to get scientific because we need to start measuring temperatures and stuff. We need to find out what's going on. It'd be nice if you had a partner that would be like, "Okay, I'll participate here." Let me put the thermometer. I mean, Jermaine, you got to keep track of these things. It's very important. We need documentation. Okay, so
keep record. Keep your stat record.
What's going on with astral sex? Because I don't think it's right for people to go have astral sex with you without permission. So what's going on, Terri? Do we need to exercise some demons or something? What do we?
Be gone, demon. Be gone.
How do you protect yourself from people having astral sex?
People projecting onto
Dude, it looked like you just flew away just now. I was like, oh, shoot, he about to go to the astral. What's happening?
I'm good. I had to sitting on the couch.
Get grounded. So what do you tell us about that, Terri?
It's interesting because I think a lot of people, especially in the last couple of years, they have opened themselves up to a fantasy. And I think, a lot of people watching a lot of more porn now than they did before, which opens them up to those lower frequencies, right? Because those astral beings they're not embodied. And so when we open ourselves to that frequency, we become a magnet to those lower frequencies. And so they're feeding off of us. And so, you know, like, it's just like, yeah, and just because there's a lot of energies that will take on, what's the word I'm looking for? They'll take on an identity that isn't necessarily who they are. They can turn around and say, I don't know, I'm Bob Marley.
Bob Marley.
Yeah.
Bob Marley.
Meanwhile, it's not. It's just a lower frequency, and we think, "Oh my God, it's Bob Marley!" How did I get chosen? It's like, no, the energy, the frequency is going to take on. It's you're opening yourself up, and they're feeding off of you. So they're vampires, right? They're energy vampires, and that's how they get their energy. So they suck it out of you. And, you know, they'll suck out that sexual energy from you because it's so, sexual energy is something that's really, you know, it's kind of like flashy, right? And so when you open yourself up, they're just pulled to that.
Yeah.
And they'll tell you whatever you want to hear. And they'll tell you whatever they want to hear.
That's unfortunately one of the main things.
You think you're having sex with Bob Marley? Having sex with this guy right here. That's who.
After the lights are on too, man. I mean, some people are willing to compromise their own beauties and their own fantasies in sex just to get it.
Yeah.
That's not Bob Marley. Okay. It's Bob Marley. Then some people talking about they putting the orgasms on to the South Pole or the North Pole, and
I want to know what this is. How do they do this?
Okay, so there's this one chick. She's like sending her orgasm off into wherever she thinks she's sending it, but it's really not going there. It's probably being
it's probably going to this guy right here.
Yeah,
this guy.
It's probably going to that guy right there.
Yeah.
You know, they're just offering their orgasms to whoever out there, not even realizing that they're opening their lower three chakras up to be hooked and latched into by incubuses, succubuses, demonics, nefarious entities. So this is one of the main things I've been coming across is these people that are picking up these demonic negative forces from pornos, from negative thought and fantasy of lower sexual practices. And what do I mean by that? Well, you watch a porn, it's mostly a darker nature. You know, there's hitting, there's, you know, they're talking down to somebody, there's choking, there's all kind of like, you know, that's not a loving partnership. You know, that's
not even in role play. I mean, that, you know,
if that's
a little bit of choking.
If that's what you need, that's fine, but you got to be aware of what energy band you're in. Are you in a mutual, respectful kind of, you know, exploration together, or is this turning into something where you're dominating and diminishing somebody and feeding off of their unpleasure is what I would call it. So
even that, it's like once you get into certain habits, this is what I learned. So the reason why they say yoga is demonic, and I'm not here to say it is or it isn't, but the idea behind it is that you stretch yourself into sigil shapes, right? But you stretch yourself into the shape of certain demons. So when you stretch your physical expression to the expression of a demonic expression, you give him room and space to live. So if you want to live with a little bit of choking, and then that day comes where you're like, and you like almost have killed somebody, or you actually physically hurt somebody because this thing now lives here because you created space for them to reside now. Would that be how you would describe that then?
Yeah. And then it gets into the other side where it's an addiction and they need that darker energy even to get hard. or get aroused.
Interesting.
So now there's like an epidemic going on where men in their 30s can't even get a boner. It's like, come on, guys. You're disconnected from this sacred act. You're in your mental world, you're escaping, you're not there, you're disconnected, you're disembodied, you're not engaged with your partner or your lover. It's total disconnect now. It's like a lot of the music industry, the videos, the commercials, it's all geared to more of this darker sexuality, and where you kind of do remove your sacred union and disembody it versus keeping it there, keeping eye contact, keeping breath. It's really transforming into this darker act, and it's opening up people to forces that are taking full advantage of not only them, but maybe the unsuspecting person that they're having relations with. So you got to be careful, because they're getting into the parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system when this happens. They're latching on to those first three chakras. So if you're not able to get a boner, it's highly likely that there is a force within that sacral area that is hooked in, and it's probably through your nervous system and that imagery and that fantasy that you've latched onto that maybe you picked up porn.
That's a huge problem, that you're looking at a person or you're in the room with a person, but you got to close your eyes and imagine an extreme scenario for you to have sex. You don't need to be imagining two midgets, and somebody pouring milk, and like the girl has to sit just like this, and oh boy.
You talking about the narcissistic you talking about narcissistic sex. So you talking about demeaning and dominating. That's what narcissists want, because they want sex slaves. That's what you're talking about, Stephanie.
The domination, the mental domination. The BDSM, but with more of a mental.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You got to remember too, D-Wave too, what they were using. I mean, from what I heard, if you heard about D-Wave, the computers and them conjuring these energies and dark energies and stuff like that, utilizing porn. I mean, that information just came out not too long ago on all that. So you have to be careful what you watch and what you are putting your all into, because then it becomes like how Stephanie says, it's an addiction, or like it's like almost like a want to keep seeing. Just this is the bar here, and it's a want to keep the bar up here for you to get sexually stimulated, and that's just it's insane. That's a lot of people are going through that. That definitely affects them.
It's the number one thing I've been coming across demonic wise with people.
Have you been dealing with that at all in your clearings? Anything like that? People that are
no. Honestly, I haven't been. It hasn't surfaced for me in that kind of way. So I haven't been. I'm not aware of the people that I've been working with that have had that. Although, having said all that, I have worked with people who've been sexually assaulted as a young child, right? And so they carry a lot of that through their lifetime. So I've worked with people who've had been working with through those assaults and rapes and stuff like that. But not in the way that we're talking right now.
Right. Not out of choice.
No.
Not out
of choice. Yeah.
So for you two, what are like some recommendations or ways that you're helping people in that aspect?
I think it sort of boils down to finding your own power, and I think a lot of it is you know, a lot of it comes down to that inner child and connecting with that aspect of yourself as a child that, you know, we've been hurt, or we've seen things or whatever. And so because that child has been shamed, then people don't know how to get themselves back to a place where they can be in their own space and feel comfortable with it, because there's shame with regard to that, you know, whether it's been shame because of what happened to them or what they've seen or what they've been told from religion or whatever. So it's now coming back into that empowering part of themselves and being okay with, well, wait a minute, this is a natural progress and there's nothing to be ashamed about. So it's developing a relationship, a healthy relationship with it. And society doesn't have a very healthy relationship with sex now. So it's finding their own space and their own growing to get connected with that part. So yeah, so with the astral part of it and the whole thing, it's like we're just inundated with so many energies that are not that want to suck off of us. They want us as loosh, and so they will masquerade as something else. And how do we distinguish that? But I think part of it is like going inside, connecting with your heart, connecting with that aspect of your soul, and then just you know, saying, does this feel right or not? And if it doesn't feel right, then don't do it.
So for you, how are you helping people with that stuff? Or Marvel?
Right now, just talking about it on here, because I don't think this is spoken about enough. And just bringing it into people's awareness and everyday conversations. Like I'll have heart-to-heart talks with men all the time, especially when I'm doing my reading, like what's going on in the bedroom. Like sometimes the cards will straight up tell me there's something not balanced here, and usually it's around the sacral chakra, and it's like, are you watching porns, or you know, how, you know, what's going on in there? And then I bring into their awareness, well, just be aware that this is the number one cause of getting an incubus or succubus, and you're having those mental thoughts and relying on those mental thoughts versus having that connection with your partner. This is probably why it's, you know, causing so much chaos for you. So just bringing it into their awareness and making people realize, hey, that's not real love. Like, you shouldn't need any of that to begin with. I mean, organically, we should be able to sustain a healthy sexual practice without any tools except two people, you know. So it's just one of those things. I think just talking about it, just in a natural sex positive conversation with people. I don't think this is anything we should be ashamed of. You know, a lot of people watch all kind of crazy stuff out there, and there's so much. I mean, we could talk about the bestiality side and all that, like we were earlier. I mean, this is out there, and this is what people are watching. So if you just got to be careful of and realize what you watch is vibrationally coming into your field. So just be aware of that and be careful. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I would stay away from it altogether. I mean,
how do you cleanse that? Like, what's the sexual hygiene here for this?
So it just depends on what it is. You know, some people, you know, I will even suggest yoni eggs and stuff like that for them. And if you don't know what a yoni egg is, it's actually a crystal that goes up inside you, ladies.
Instead of the dildo.
That's God. Yeah.
Well, it doesn't. You're not. It's heavy, and you're not getting no pleasure out of no egg.
This is more for vibration and to clear out any.
So they have those? I didn't know that.
They have crystals that go inside women, and it's clear. It's more of an attuned crystal that you would want to use for something like this, and actually maybe getting a Reiki session while it's in there to really just
get rid of your STDs, your sexually transmitted demons.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh,
I got you.
Just be careful. Salt baths are great. Doing a lot of root and sacral and solar plexus work. Reiki masters are great at getting out negative hooks and energies. So if you have one whom you trust, who's maybe been practicing 10 plus years, go see them. Also shamans, if it's really serious, like Terri was talking about, if you have like abuse issues along with it, go talk to a shaman, because there may be some defragmentation. And that's another thing, is people can fragment their soul when they go through a trauma like that. So that's another thing I would recommend, is seeking out a shaman who can actually do soul retrievals to help you or that inner child you have that may be wounded to heal from something like this.
So somebody dropped that word. Well, dropped a couple of times with bestiality, and I'm not going to get very deep into it, but I know that we had a discussion about this, and they have brothels in Europe where different countries just have brothels for that. I don't even want to say the word too much. That it's actually like the numbers are 17% of people are trying this. So you worried about somebody cheating on you. Now you got to worry about this person going and picking up a yard animal or some shit, and you thought you had problems because he was looking at the girl.
But you gotta go see the vet after this.
And they're saying it's relating to like cervical cancers and things like that. This stuff is happening. And Texas advances the bill to outlaw it. Kentucky outlawing. These people are voting on this now.
So people are voting to want to have sex with animals, and this is actually a vote.
It's on some bills out there. It's being.
Wow.
People are still on the wire on, is this wrong or not? So
I mean, I'm in Canada. And I know that it is it's in the criminal code. It's against the law.
Right. It should be.
Yeah.
Only 40% of Louisiana state senators voted against it.
Interesting. So what are they doing in Louisiana?
60% said, hey, what's your problem?
Goodness gracious. Man, that's why crocodiles and alligators are extinct on there or something. What's going on? That might be
why monkeys is going around beating up people in their houses. Because you think it's just a pet monkey, but hey, they got, they voting on this.
These are statistics I've never heard of. This is interesting.
Yeah. Well, Denmark is just trying to make a move. They just trying to make a move right now. People arguing over this right now in Europe. Okay. So
interesting.
So ridiculous.
Gently brush up against that topic. I accidentally one day, and I was like, Jermaine, you ain't gonna believe this shit. Like
what? Oh my God, it's that people that gave up on humans, period.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, they had a really human looking baby, but now they got a plastic man. It ain't even plastic. This man is some type of fleshy material. It's like the whole body is made out of that stuff they make the fake vagina out of. A whole man in your bed. Like when you give up your, on humanity, and you got like you a little fake realistic baby, and you got a fake realistic husband, and he's just sitting there like, come on now.
Damn.
Yeah,
It freaks
really,
me out.
Yeah, but it's taking the humanity out of us, right? And that's just a program that they are trying to do, is just take away the humanity again.
That's the archons.
By putting exactly, it's the archons.
Wanting them, want to fuck them. That's what the archon was. That's the.
I remember I watched that show. I Am Dave. The man
have
he had a little thing he put on the. It was like a little booty lady. She was a little booty lady. The legs was like this big, and it was coming a little. And she had little floppy feet, but she had like a booty in the top part of her body, and she just had little legs hanging down. And I was like, "What?" And his girlfriend walked in the bathroom and was like, "What?"
Damn.
Wait, he had a girlfriend though? He had a girlfriend? Why does he need a doll?